Let's also welcome in to our guest this half hour is the Speaker of the House, the parliamentarian of parliamentarians. I think he helped Jefferson and Mason write the parliamentarian books. Roger, can you hear us?
Hey, good morning, everybody. I sure can.
Good morning, Roger. How are you? You are in Boston still?
I am. The National Conference of State Legislatures is convened this week in Boston. Today's the final day of it, so I'll be headed home later today. But last few minutes, Mike, I've been getting caught up on learning why we put tomato sauce in pork and beans, getting reminded to have my home tested for radon, and learning of your admiration for Robert Mugabe. But
I heard you presented a number of times, Roger. Have you had any good sessions that you had some good feedback from, or what did you present on in Boston?
So I presented, I had 3 sessions, the third of which I'll present this morning. I presented one session earlier in the week on the importance of science-based and data-based decision-making in government and why we need to rely on evidence for decisions and policy positions taken by the government. We had a session yesterday on what the future of civility in politics looks like, and what we can do to make it more, what we Americans, not we politicians, what we Americans can do to make public service more attractive to the men and women who are certainly qualified to step forward and represent our communities. And then today we're rounding out, or at least my portion of the program rounds out today with a federalism discussion about the contemporary role of states in our republic, and what the current makeup of state governments looks like, and what the proper role is for states in an environment that's become increasingly national. We have to always remember that ours is not a national government; it's a federal government, and that states still have an extraordinarily important role to play.
What takeaways do you and your members have from this? And obviously, I would have loved to have been there, but Carly had her sheep show, as I've told everybody and boasted about. What are some of the better takeaways that you had from this conference?
Well, one of the great things about the NCSL meeting every year is that it's a large meeting, and that there are sessions on every topic. So there are things that run the gamut, from tax policy to housing policy to energy policy to the things that I'm doing this morning with respect to how states relate to the federal government, what federal spending looks like, and what states can expect to be receiving from the federal government. So we've had a couple of very informative sessions about what the current landscape of tariffs looks like vis-a-vis international trade. You know, Mike, you've spent years now looking at our state budget. We are a state that still depends in a meaningful part on natural resource severance taxes to balance our state budget every year. When the global international trade situation is such that our exports of particularly coal, but to a lesser extent natural gas and timber, are impacted, then that makes its way to the bottom line of our state budget really quickly. So we spent a lot of time yesterday learning about what the future likely looks like for our metallurgical coal, to a lesser extent our steam coal, but to a great extent our metallurgical coal exports will look like over the course of the next year. It's a meaningful way to get ready to write the next budget.
Mr. Stubblefield.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for joining
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us again. I had some questions on local issues, but your conference, I think, kind of preempts everything else. I was fascinated with the first session that you presented, the science. What was the argument of the necessity for science, and yet we gut the base science, not the applied science, but the base science of a lot of federal organizations such as NOAA, NIH, National Science Foundation, U.S. Geological Survey, and EPA. How can you reconcile that so much of our decision-making needs to be on science, and yet we're gutting the base science?
Oh, I don't reconcile that. In fact, I think it's a big mistake. While I'm 100% supportive of the overall effort to reduce federal spending, and we definitely have to do that. We are living well beyond our means right now under the current structure that we have federally. and we'll get back to that in a minute. But at the federal level, the national level, we are living well beyond our means. So we do have to rein in spending, and we do have to make hard calls, and that means doing some things that are uncomfortable and that'll for the moment be unpopular. But one of the things we ought to never do is anything that erodes American competitiveness and our ability to lead internationally and globally. And our nation has been the international leader in science since World War II. I mean, you can speak from firsthand experience, Admiral, about the importance from a national security perspective of the United States being in a position to set the rules of the game and position the pieces on the battlefield with respect to how we regulate the international use of technology and innovation. And we've only been able to do that because Americans and our country led in the creation and the development of the technologies that then became regulated under frameworks that we structured. If we back away from that, other countries will and already are leaning into it. And they will set the rules of the battlefield. They will position the pieces on the board, and we'll be in a position where we are responding rather than leading. So, no, I don't reconcile. I think it's a big mistake.
Yeah, and pardon me, I misused the word you. I was talking the corporate sense, not you as a personal sense, because I know that you have a science background. So I was not implying that you reconciled it. It was a corporate you. So.
Oh, no, I didn't take it that way. No,
okay.
It's a general question about what the state of our country is, and can those two positions can they be reconciled? And I'm not sure the answer to that question is yes. Now, has our government funded frivolous research? Of course. The literature is replete with examples of studies that probably didn't need to be funded, but we need to solve that problem with a scalpel or at most a butcher knife, not a chainsaw.
Yeah, I spent part of my career as in Sea Grant program, which funded science, both the basic and applied, with schools such as MIT, University of Texas, UCLA, and the like. And it's awful hard at that point in time to say what will become frivolous and what is not. So much of these sciences may not have a direct application to applied, but in time they contribute to the applied science.
Well, amen to that. And in fact, I think, Admiral, that may be the best role for federal government-sponsored research is in basic science funding. So corporate America has reached a point in which the pressure for quarterly returns and the pressure to demonstrate quarterly reporting and quarterly success by the management team, driven by third-party outside investors, is so great that the days of, like, a Bell Laboratories, for example, are gone. We don't see that level of investment in basic scientific research anymore, even though now American private sector leads the way in the overall amount of aggregate funding allocated to research and development. So there was a time when the lion's share of research dollars in America came from the government, and federal funds provided the basis for most of the research done in America. Those days are behind us, at least for the moment. And we are seeing that the private sector funds most research today. But it's much more driven by, as you say, immediacy, short-term application, how quickly can we get a product to market. And those are important goals. You know, corporate America has goals, and it's certainly okay that that's the case. But we should never give up on blue sky research, because that's how we got the laser. That's how we got the microchip. That's how we got certain of the pharmaceuticals that have changed the lives for millions of Americans and billions of people around the world. So we shouldn't be backing away from discovery.
I am going to have to back away from the discussion and turn it over to my co-host, because I'd love to have this conversation all day long.
Keep going, Bill. Keep going.
No,
I'm
this
okay.
is a wonderful conversation. Okay, go ahead, Maria.
No, go. Do you have a follow-up?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Miss Maria.
Thank you. So, Mr. Speaker, talk a little bit about what specifically you have been talking with your colleagues about in terms of West Virginia for, in terms of business opportunities, tourism. What exactly have you been pushing out to talk about our great state while you've been up there?
Oh, we love talking about this, Maria. Great question. So this is not an economic development conference per se. We're mostly here to talk about policy, but we never miss an opportunity to talk about why West Virginia is a great place to make an investment. So, for example, we the legislature, in collaboration with our friends in the Development Office and the Economic Development Authority, have really been making aviation a priority in terms of economic development and economic recruitment. The small airports of West Virginia, of which Martinsburg is one, are great places for those companies in the aerospace industry to locate manufacturing, refurbishing, painting, and aviation industry facilities. We've been leaning into that for the past couple of years. We're doing it again with some of our colleagues here in Boston this week. So many of the major airports that for years were the choice for the aerospace industry to fly in and out of and use as a base, as a home base of operation for their businesses have become either cost prohibitive or for other reasons less desirable than they once were. We're hearing more and more now that our small airports with easy access, with land that can be developed at a comparably very reasonable rate in West Virginia are prime for investment. So I know Delegate Hornby there right there in the room today has been helping us lead that effort, pitching our small airports and our regional airports in West Virginia as a site for the aerospace industry. That's just one specific example. We've also taken some meetings with some hardwood manufacturers from outside West Virginia to potentially step into some of the hardwood manufacturing facilities in West Virginia that have been forced out of business lately due to circumstances sometimes beyond their control. So these kind of meetings are great because they bring together not just legislators from around the country, but business interests that are remote from West Virginia that give us a chance to meet with them face-to-face and talk about why our state's a great place for them to make an investment.
So which other colleagues from our state are there with you, Mr. Speaker?
Oh, we have a splattering of people here. These are meetings that people just choose to attend voluntarily. So, for example, Delegate Matt Rohrbach from Huntington is here. He will be nominated to a leadership role in this organization later this morning. We'll be electing Matt to the executive committee of the National Conference of State Legislatures. Delegate Daniel Linville is here with us this week. He was a featured presenter yesterday on a panel about broadband expansion and what some of the challenges are in expanding broadband access in rural parts of America. So it's always fascinating to listen to our colleagues from urban areas talk about connecting 100, 200 people per linear mile of broadband fiber in some of their areas and the challenges that come with such a sparse number. Well, we just chuckle at that because in West Virginia, if we can connect 4 or 5 people per linear mile, we're happy about that sometimes. So Delegate Linville is here. We have some of our finance committee here participating in panels on tax policy around the country, how states are dealing with the budget situations that they face in a post-COVID environment. So for years, all of our states, all states in America, West Virginia included, were living at the largesse of federal COVID dollars. Those days are now fully behind us and gone. So we're back into a much more normal budgetary situation. Some of our insurance colleagues are here. Delegate Walter Hall is here from Charleston to participate in a discussion about what the future of insurance regulation looks like as different kinds of natural disasters have been hitting America over the last couple of years. There's some discussion at the federal level about what homeowners insurance looks like or will look like in the future, and whether there are federal changes coming to insurance policy that states will have to incorporate. Walt was here in one of those sessions yesterday to learn about what we have to do as a state to be responsive to that. So it literally does, this particular meeting literally does cross the bell curve of things that are hyper-specific versus things that are hyper-general.
Mr. Speaker, West Virginia is recently recognized as leading the nation per capita with tourism. A couple of questions is, how do we achieve that distinction? And I assume you're getting some mileage with your fellow representative at the meeting.
Well, we do. Our tourism economy does continue to grow, Admiral. You're right about that. big props to our Secretary of Tourism, Secretary Chelsea Ruby does an extraordinary job. We're delighted that she's continuing on in that role this term in the new administration. One of the things that our Department of Tourism has done that I really like has been to focus our marketing efforts more on just exactly who do we think might come to West Virginia. Who are the people and what are the markets that West Virginia can serve. So my personal business, for example, takes me to Washington, D.C. about once a month. And the last time I was in town, I was really pleased to see on one of the city buses rolling by me on the sidewalk a West Virginia advertisement. Come spend the weekend in West Virginia's Eastern Panhandle. That really made me smile because we know that every dollar that flows in from out of state, every out of state dollar spent in West Virginia. If I'm not mistaken, our tourism economy returns a 14-to-1 ROI. So those dollars cycle around in our economy a lot. We're really happy about what our state parks have done. Our state parks are at their greatest occupancy rates that they've been probably in my lifetime. I don't have that data at the ready this morning, but if you try to book a ticket to one of our state's resort lodges at our state parks, good luck with that right now. We want you to try, by the way, because if there are vacancies, we want you to take them. But I recently tried to book a weekend at one of those lodges near my home down in central West Virginia for my family for a long weekend, and there was not a room to be had.
Something.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mary.
Well, I was going to change gears. So if
I was as well, but go ahead, Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Speaker, I guess you're kind of the Switzerland in terms of LEDA funds. And I thought I would just bring that up because I'm sure it's a great subject for you. Have you met with, I think when we had Scott Heckert on last week, he talked about sort of bringing you in to speak with the governor and sort of not straightening all that, but maybe straightening all that out in terms of his district. Has that happened? Are you still willing to make that happen? Everybody's going to sing Kumbaya at the end of it. What's going on there?
Yeah, good question, Melissa. We've done that, and as I've said, I think a couple times on other outlets, it's important not to make too much out of something that a lot of the public doesn't necessarily have direct experience with. So every administration, at the beginning of a new administration, the legislature and the executive have to figure out how they're going to manage a number of things that go into our working relationship. And that's not unique to just our LEDA program. It's every aspect of how an administration and a legislature are going to decide they're going to work together. And under the prior administration, we had the understanding that we reached between ourselves back then, and we're in the process of deciding on all fronts how the current administration and we will be working together. This is just one of those areas. For me, it's not all that different than any of the 50 other areas that we have to decide together how we're going to move forward on. But yeah, on this particular one, we have decided how we're going to move forward with it, and I think we're back on track.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, I wanted to also switch gears just a little bit. We'll obviously talk about, Mr. Speaker, talk about PEIA if you could. I know the governor has said, and we've had a number of meetings and task force, that there may or may not be a special session. What is your take on PEIA, and where do you see us going moving forward?
Well, so let me say at the top of that, Mike, good question. So I've been a PEIA plan participant at other points in my career, so I do have some direct personal experience with the program. I am a former state employee myself, so I do have some direct experience from which I can base a decision or offer perspective on this. So realize that our PEIA program is actually a really generous benefit when you compare it to other health insurance programs in the private sector. From the perspective of premiums paid to services and coverage offered, it's actually a really rich plan. And we're happy about that. We want to be a good employer. We, the state of West Virginia, want to be a good employer for those men and women who work for us. We want to be a good employer. Full stop, unqualified, we want to be a good employer. But that said, we've also got to be a sustainable employer, and we've got to think about are we positioning that insurance benefit long term to meet the needs of all of our plan participants? And realize that falls into really three classes of participants, right? There are state workers that work for the state of West Virginia. Then there are employees of our 55 public school systems. And then there's a third category that over time has grown substantially. And that third category is our county, municipal, and certain nonprofit organization plan participants. And for years, those programs have all looked and felt the same. We've had sort of a one-size-fits-all program. We're just asking the question now: what the future of our benefits should look like, and should it look the same for everybody? Should it continue into the future as it does now? I don't know, and we're asking everybody that we talk to now what some opinions are and thoughts are on that. But to round out the answer, Mike, and I want to be sure we underscore this. This problem is not unique to PEIA, and it's not unique to the state of West Virginia. The problem of escalating insurance premiums is directly 100% a function of medical inflation nationally and to some extent internationally. The cost of health care, the delivery of it, and the direct cost in providing it continue to increase at double-digit rates every year. Mm-hmm. It now makes up 11% of our entire national economy. And to think that we, the state of West Virginia, can unilaterally act in any way that reins that in unique to our state is naive. And no action that we take will achieve that goal. What we can do and what we have to do is just position our state and our plan as best we can to be responsive to what is really a national and global market. So if there are solutions that the governor chooses to put on a special session call for us, goodness knows we're receptive to that, wide open to consideration of those topics. But until we've agreed upon some solutions, it's probably premature to circle any kind of a date on the calendar and say we are or are not going to be.
Mr. Speaker, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We always value your insight. Hope you have a great session today. Enjoy Boston and have a safe trip home.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.